everyone, it's Jenn.
And Ali.
And you're listening to Rising Within Podcast,
a show where we come together to connect the heart, head, and spirit.
Just like rhythm, lyrics, and melody.
Well, hey girl, hey.
Hey girl, hey. How's it going?
Not too bad.
Are you wanting to start, like, maybe we could do like a little Reiki session on each other before we...
Sure.
How do you feel?
Pretty good. What about you?
I'm really good too.
Feeling all zony, which means channeling will be great. I feel drunk. Like, that's what energy does to me. My goodness.
I saw like colors that like helped me figure out where to go. I don't know if there's anything with your lower back.
I was doing a lot of lifting today.
Your lower back was really needing some TLC. When I was working on your heart, Pro came up. I don't know.
Like within a half hour, I was debating reflexology, and the person I get reflexology from is actually the mother of somebody I work with, and her company's called Crow Reflexology. So as soon as you say that, I was like, okay, yeah, I gotta treat myself, because I was questioning that earlier. So I was like, is it worth the money, spirit?
Well, the Crow was like, when I was right when your heart chakra, I was like Crow, and I was like, whoa, okay.
I had a few things for you. The door to your ancestors swung open in a huge way, and I was like, whoa, is she not working with her ancestors? And your spirit guides were kind of like so then I was like, okay, come on through, fam. Come on through, fam. If you're here for her highest good and for the work that she's working on, come on through the door. So mediumship wise, I apologize. Should you receive more mediumship wise, that was a focus too. Your guys kept drawing me to certain areas. One of them was your ability to see, and I was like, I'm not working on that because I know how she feels about it right now. So I'll send energy.
Actually, yeah, clairvoyance has come up a lot, and so I
sent energy, but I didn't. They kind of wanted me to take a chisel to it, and I was like, I'm not gonna like roll up sleeves and get in there, because we've discussed it, and I don't know that that's what she wants for herself fully right now, which I'm gonna respect, because
yeah, sure, totally, yeah.
Your heart chakra came up, but your heart chakra and what needs to be healed there is so also connected to your sacral. That, yeah, which you already know, so I don't even need to go there. Sinuses, I was told, was out of the ordinary for you. Like, you have had sinus issues throughout your life, but it's not like a regular thing, was what it was presented as. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll send healing there too. You shifted my heart rate a lot to my heart rate, where I would notice that my heart was beating at a certain rate, and then all of a sudden, regardless of what I was doing, my heart rate would go down like significantly, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Bye, anxiety.
So good.
So that was great. Loved that.
Good. So how was your week?
Pretty eye-opening, I would say. I've worked through a lot on a personal level, through my self-work, towards self-love and all those fabulous things. So it's been a pretty stellar 2 weeks on that front, I would say. What about for you?
Well, that's a good takeaway for sure. The week that we were going to get together, I think there was so much purging for me what was happening. To take some time to reflect, write things down was really helpful. There was a lot of action in the sky that week, if I recall. Yeah, that was sort of the week of the Pluto return, right? So that was a lot going on, a lot of like... Was
that the week of two?
Yeah, that was that week that we didn't end up getting together. So there was a lot, as you can imagine, with the Pluto return. It's like a rebuild energy. So it was like a great day for setting darkness and like letting go.
Right, absolutely. So during that week, I was very drained energetically and very drained emotionally. And I think during Pluto return, I had a lot of, I'm pretty sure I was crying a lot that day and had a lot of emotional purging. So by the time that we would have met, I'm usually fairly physically tired by this point of the week because of my muggle job, but being semi-physically tired as well as completely emotionally tapped out. Yeah, that's what everyone experienced the Pluto return differently to some degree, is my understanding. And it was very individual based on what we are each or were each currently facing at the time of the Pluto return. So for some people that I spoke to, and maybe you can validate or verify this for me, for some people I spoke to, they felt it like gangbusters. It just boosted their energy. Whereas for me, I felt the opposite. I felt it stirred a lot for me rather than boost. It stirred. And then stirring, there was some grieving and mourning and releasing, but that involved a lot of emotional work, essentially.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I guess I'm attracted to a lot of Pluto people in my life because I have some strong Pluto friendships. So they've gone through a lot of transformation in this lifetime. So I was contacted almost by every single person that has like major Pluto energy in their chart, and they were feeling like on cloud nine. It's kind of like Mercury retrograde. When someone is born with Mercury retrograde and Mercury retrograde happens, it doesn't hit them as much because it's like a day in a life for them. So it doesn't.
Oh, to be one of those people.
That's me.
What the heck and heck?
Well, but then I'm always revising, right? I'm always living sort of, I'm going back in time a lot. So I'm looking back over everything, and I have to double check things a lot before I send it out. It's just, it's more consistent basis, and it's more inward. I'm doing more inward stuff because of it. So I process information a little bit differently. But with the Pluto return, my Pluto people were very empowered. And some of the clients I had don't have strong Pluto in their chart. They were feeling the other aspect of it, right? Because it was sort of like, here's your sort of darkness that you need to kind of sort through, your skeleton closet, if you will. Time to emotionally purge this, light this on fire.
So there is darkness.
You can phoenix yourself into what you need to, but you can't.
Well, and it was great. It was great in that way because I was so intensely in my feels that one day. And then every day after that was very much like I was still sensitive that I was in my feels in that way. But on an intellectual level, I was no longer feeling it because I had felt it so intensely. So it was almost like the after effects or the aftershocks of having gone through it for the next few days afterwards. And then once everything settled down, there was just a lightness as a result of that.
That sounds about right.
I know how to do this Pluto return.
Yeah. I've come back from the ashes many times. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, we're doing this phoenixing again? Again? What am I, a Patronus?
Only this time the world was joining you, And
let's not even get started on the world, because within days, are we going to talk about it? Should we talk about it?
I will say this. I sometimes want to just take a step back during that and be more of an observer, because some people felt it was insensitive for people to comment on such an event through astrology. But I feel as humans, we are intrinsically interested in what we do and trying to learn and understand why.
Just to quickly preface, we're of course referring to the actions of Russia against Ukraine. I want to touch on the fact that you choose to take the role of observer as a result of trying to remain sensitive and compassionate to the events that are unfolding. That may not 100% be the reason why I also take a similar approach, but we're in different veins of this alternative health, wellness, spiritual aspect of work.
Yeah.
And despite being in different niches or avenues, I take the same approach as you. I lean back when big world events happen, not because it's a can, it's more of a should I? And not just for the world, but also for myself. I don't know about you, but I personally find it very draining to channel what's happening on a massive level within the world, especially when it is bleak to be looking into and not exactly a walk in the park.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to add to that, like energetically, I felt it. And what actually prompted me to get Reiki certified is because I can feel energy so well and I'm receptive to it, but I want to be able to give energy to places that need it, because I find that with any sort of world event or let's say, someone gets elected and it just seems like it goes far off in one direction, like a pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of gives the silver lining is it forces the other side to have to be vocal and have to, speak up about, for instance, the Me Too movement, or, all that had to come to the surface as a result of how far off it went that way. And so I kind
Mm-hmm.
of feel with this happening, it's making me feel, at least on a personal level, that to be more vocal about love and compassion towards
I agree.
myself, towards others, towards the world. Like, we just came out of a global pandemic. We're still working through that. And then there's war. Like, we need to be kinder to each other. We don't
I
all
also think it's a great time to focus on the fact that we're more alike than different and remember that because we forget.
absolutely. Yeah. When it was sort of announced, there was Mercury squaring Uranus, Uranus is a very unpredictable, rebellious planet in line with communication. And Uranus is ruled by Aquarius, which is about community, and the energy could be like, what are you doing in my area over here? Like, how do we communicate our values in our community, and realizing whatever separate values we have, we can still coexist with mutual respect. So that's like kind of the
Mm-hmm.
higher expression of the outcome. It's like maybe we see things very differently, but at least we can respect each other's different viewpoints, which didn't happen that way. But Pluto is a planet that destroys to rebuild, right? So we had that energy start the week out for the world. Some things kind of blew up in a way, in a sense. It's forcing us to realize that we have to be more compassionate and we have to rebuild things because it's not working. Structure has been failing for a while now. You and I both know this.
There's also a certain level of inevitability to events, not just historically and logically and
Yeah.
intellectually, but energetically. Energetically, there's a sense of inevitability to events, especially when a certain situation is like a pot left on the back burner. Eventually, there's going to be a roiling boil unless that pot is taken off that back burner. And the energy of that situation, from my understanding of what I've learned now after the fact, because I typically don't brush up on a lot of these things personally because I don't want to start channeling
Right.
in accessory to that. But in what I learned through talking with some coworkers and whatnot after the fact about the entire situation, there was a certain level of inevitability. When it's energetically like that, you're almost at the point of, okay, if something is energetically inevitable, is it then to some degree destined to necessarily happen that way? It's another ending for beginning, and not necessarily ending for a country or people or anything like that. It is heartbreaking is when I feel how strongly within spirit something is like a train barreling down the tracks with no end in sight. The amount of energy, the amount of interference needed to stop that momentum and that movement from happening, it's almost as if in order to resolve it, you've got to let it go.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's what's tough. That's what's tough to look at as a medium, as someone who channels energetically. It's very tough for me to look at that unfolding with world events.
Well, even I will say even astrologically, right? Like that's
Yeah.
energy I'm seeing. I don't see how it's always going to manifest to the degree, but now that I see it's happened, I can look at the energy and see that that is very much possible. Like, I've been learning about
Mm-hmm.
the Pluto return since last year and how impactful it's going to be on a global level. It's not just going to affect the states, and we're starting to see that. And so it's like, back to your point about inevitability. Things are not coincidences, and we need all spectrums of emotion in order to come back to some sort of like equilibrium and rebuilding and things like that. So everything has
It's all about balance. So when you were saying the pendulum swing thing earlier, I mean, it's all about seeking and finding balance, and that is what energy prefers, is to be in a state of balance. Energy doesn't like being too much or not enough. And there most certainly can't be a vacuum of energy. That needs to be filled almost immediately by something volunteered through the universe presenting it. So
No, absolutely. So I think it was the 222 was on a Tuesday, and that was the 22nd. So that's when the Pluto return started. And then on the 23rd is when things started to happen over there. The messenger Mercury retrograde shadow ended. Communication was aligning with our personal wounds that day, and asking us to face our insecurities. And so there was a lot of that going on, right? And then the following day, it was a weird energy because we had this like Venus sextile Neptune. So it was like, it just like sensual and caring. And there was like an energy that was like this good for passionate romantic encounters. Like I woke up feeling like, whoa, like really just like creative and just like feeling flowful. And then later, the aspect of Mercury square Uranus, I felt like what I had posted in the morning was like tone deaf to the energy I was getting from overseas, and just really checked myself because I was like, wow, I was really present in the moment with the energy and understood what was happening, but the magnitude of where I felt towards the evening, the energetic sorrow and pain and all that from what was happening, and how can I help? I feel helpless, and the morning felt completely irrelevant. It was so interesting to me. I don't know if you felt or recall what happened for you on that day.
No, well, I recall very much not waking up feeling all sensual. That was not my experience because I had just cried my eyes out the day before. Days before. So I mean, I was waking up all puffy eyed, squinty eyed. There's not much that's sensual about that.
I mean,
however, it was almost as if I was emptied of all emotion before the events happened, and in some way, I felt some sense of appreciation towards that aspect, because if I swing from such deep feeling to then just I'm scooped out emotionally, it's almost as if I was able to look at it more intellectually, which for me is a good thing. Absolutely. So I was able to look at the whole situation a lot more of a grounded aspect and perspective, and that allowed me to really open up and have the conversations with others around me that I really wanted to have, just to have better understanding of the events that were unfolding. But also, we were all fairly collectively tapped out before this happened, and things happen every day that are tragic. I feel fortunate that I didn't feel it on a personal level, because it allowed me, and it's still allowing me, to be more supportive to other people right now, because this is fear that I'm encountering seems to be very real right now too.
What's interesting is that spirit really, anytime I went on TikTok, the live would go right to what was happening there. So they really wanted me to be privy to really understanding it. And I think that's actually what really prompted me or propelled me to really take the steps towards Reiki certification and, trying to help energetically, because I feel like helpless in a lot of ways, just learning about it from sidelines. What can I say? What can I do? I think, like, I was looking at donations. There's just so many things, so many different avenues, because in world events, we need people, we need humanity, we need
absolutely
people that
I always default to holding space. And so my version of that has been lending an ear to people during this time, talking about it. Customers at my muggle job even will say random comments, and that's where collectively I'm starting to notice that the fear is real, and the fear is there for some people about this. And yeah, the best we can do is support in any way, even in thought.
The key to a lot of energy healing is like really making sure you're taking care of your energy and yourself too, in order to help others. Like, it just sort of kind of goes. So I was thinking about that a lot too. And so for me that week, like I said, it was writing, because Capricorn was happening in my 8th house, which was intimacy, finances. So there was a lot of inner child stuff that came up. There was a lot of my limiting beliefs, I think, towards finances, and where does that fear come from? So a lot of like inquisitive questions, and how can I take the steps and take responsibility for the things that I want to address and start facing them. And people that show up, what is the pattern here? Okay, so I'm attracting inconsistency, unique individuals who are non-committal and like to be free. Well, that sounds a lot like me. So how can I start? Because when we look for things outside of ourselves, how can I, if I'm looking for something consistent, what can I do to be more consistent within myself and what I do for myself?
For yourself.
Exactly.
For
For
yourself.
myself. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that because I think sometimes we forget, and it's hard when we have such an aversion to a person, but there always is a lesson in there for them, or at least from my experience. Like, and I always want to learn the lesson so that I have the lesson and leave the person, and move on. But yeah, I really went through the stock pile of a lot of these ghosts, if you will, that were all visited through my dreams and through
Yeah. Well, Spirit was saying to me earlier when we were speaking about things unfolding between Russia and Ukraine and within the world, on the heels of all this during the Pluto return, Spirit kept saying to me, things that were hidden needed to be revealed. And it's almost as if there has been many opportunities for things that are hidden to have been revealed over the last few months through astrological events that I'm sure you're aware of. There's been many opportunities, and previous opportunities may have been a little bit more gentle in the approach in terms of communication, or in terms of gently unpacking the things that are hidden, or in terms of coming to a level of awareness of the things that are hidden. But the way that Spirit was presenting this to me was almost like a punch in the face, sort of. The things that were hidden needed to be revealed, as in the things that were perhaps denied, or the things that were, there was some level of awareness, but it just kept being shoved aside or put into a box. And I think that's why I used the example earlier of the pot slowly boiling over.
Yeah.
It's almost as if whatever existed has existed for some time, and there's perhaps been many opportunities for said energy that has existed for tons of time to reveal itself. The room and space, the sacred space I was talking about, wasn't lended to that energy in order for it to reveal itself. So it just came out with a bang. Had to. Absolutely had to.
Perfectly said, because we had this opportunity during Venus retrograde. Capricorn's been a huge theme, right? Like deconstructing the patriarchy, our work mentality, the way that we do things, really figuring out what we value, what we want, and being our own authority and taking responsibility in that. Then we had the Pluto return in Capricorn. It's like, if you hadn't addressed all that stuff and really, sorted through that and during that time, well, now you're really going to have to, right? So,
well, and it's significant that this is all happening during a 6-year, because it being a 6-year, we're meant energetically to come into a space of coming home, whether it's to ourselves, whether it's the physical home that we're in. We're meant to be coming into a space of comfort and stability and within self, but also working towards externally. That's sort of the energy, the general energy vibe of this year, it being a 6-year. So of course the year is going to start off with, okay, what's not working that's not lending to that comfort and stability? Because if we're going to be ending the year within that energy, within that space, there needs to be awareness of the work that needs to be done and the energy that needs to be shifted in order to get to that space.
It's just, so it's interesting to think back to that week, because now this week I feel energetically completely different. I don't know if you feel that way too.
Oh, night and day, completely. 180.
Pisces new moon energy, completely different.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about it. I'm not an astrologer, but what I can say is Stella's got a groove back. Like, that's the energy about this. Is the energy before was a little WTF, ... pause, lean back. Now all of a sudden it's like a sway and a leaning forward, and a Stella's got her groove back kind of energy. It's very exciting, sort of.
That's amazing, though. Isn't that the best though? Because you kind of have to sort through. You have to bring the darkness to the light in order for you to actually. It's interesting because I had a really big reflection on the Pisces energy, and with it being in the sun, and then we have Jupiter and Neptune, and we're probably starting to now actually feel that vibe of it, which is like bringing light to vitality to your dreams. And the last time we had all of these energies together was March 1858. So it's been this, it's been a
Been a
significant,
hot minute.
it's been a significant amount of time since we've been like feeling the depths of what's going on beneath the surface, you know, in a lot of ways with our like our own subconscious. So there is the part of it where I'll say like the lower expression is like sometimes it can lead to like escapism, right? Or Netflix and chill, which is ruled by Pisces. So, which didn't become a thing until 2012 when
Wait. Can we talk about your definition of Netflix and chill? Because my my
well,
definition of Netflix and chill was literally like vegging on the couch. And
no,
I
mine is
only
too.
learned a few years ago that
Oh,
it's related to that sensual morning you were talking about earlier or something. I don't know. But you're referring to the very relaxing, laid back.
yes. So in this instance, I'm talking about the binge watching, you know, kind of,
Cute.
you know,
Thank you.
yeah. So binge watching didn't really become a thing until 2012, which is when Neptune moved into Pisces. So a lot of this energy, Pisces lower expression is like the escapism because of the subconscious. And it's like they don't want to feel, because they feel things so much. And like a water sign, they all do. It's inviting us, I think, during that like the beginning of or February, it might have felt that more lower expression of it. The only way to get to the dream part is to dig out your skeletons in the closet, so to speak, and have compassion for yourself and those moments or whatever it is that you're trying to avoid so that you can start to feel the dream again. Because Pisces are the most mystical and they love the dream and they love to like think about things beyond the
They
three,
do love the dream
you
and
know?
the intuitive.
Yeah. When we clear out that baggage, it's easier for us to dream.
It's easier to light a fire too. I think what I'm feeling that's collectively missing right now, and this might be lending to the feelings of being stuck or fear or everything else that everyone's dealing with on a personal level. I'm feeling like lack of motivation lately on the collective level. Lack of motivation. And people very much not knowing or seeming to recall what a spark is to know what a fire would be inside right now. It's almost as if there's a forgetting of self happening right now, which I find interesting because I feel like it's the ebb and flow of the tide coming in and out, almost like you need to lose self a little bit in order to gain new perspective on self. So there needs to be a loss of motivation right now in order to gain perspective on what is a priority to be motivated about, because perhaps the things that one was motivated about before are no longer working.
People are reinventing themselves right now in a major way. Like,
See, I didn't even know that on an astrological level, but I can feel it in spirit.